Hi everybody, it's Blue Water Task Force Tuesday, and we partner with the lovely South Sound Surfrider crew to go out every month in the winter time to take some water samples. So let's flip things around here and take a look at this beautiful sampling day. Up to a little bit of a late start rather than planned, but you know, when you're having conversations with new volunteers about kelp, you gotta do what you gotta do. And I almost thought we were gonna be in luck to wait for the rain to come, but it just sprinkled a tiny bit, and so we have this nice little window of time to come out here and grab a water sample. So Les Davis, these dive steps here are what scuba divers use and other beach goers to access this lovely area. Under the Puget Sound here, there's a fabulous dive site, and so since we know people play in the water, we want to make sure that these places that folks recreate are clean and clear and free of poo, because nobody wants to swim in poo, unless you do, but you know, let's maybe not. So we'll do a little bit of a beach walk before we collect our sample today. One thing I'll notice right off the bat is some microplastics. So from this styrofoam to whatever that blue stuff is, even it looks like some green turf, maybe from a sushi platter. Also a train coming by. Let's go ahead and let that train do its thing before I keep talking. All right, so we just walked down the steps. That sign of kind of trash and plastic up there lets me know that the tide does indeed come up to those top steps. And again, looking here, you can see where the logs are, knowing that the high water mark will have pushed those floating debris up to that level. And so as we look out towards the water, you can see that, you know, it's a pretty decent low tide today, right? The water is low, so we get to go and explore what cool creatures are here, which is great because it's beautiful. Wow, Mary, I agree. A beautiful view for sure. There's this nice little path here that I'm gonna use instead of clambering over all these rocks. And yeah, let's see what we see. Definitely checking out some barnacles and some of this fluffy red algae, kind of a filamentous red. There's even things like mussels and limpets and little periwinkle snails tucked in between here. That's definitely our snail clue to know that we are in the high intertidal zone. These of course get their name for that checkered pattern on their shell, hence checkered periwinkle. The fact that these barnacles are even scraped off here also lets us see kind of a little hint of what's called hummocking, where the barnacles grow tall rather than big, wide, and flat. That's the skyscraper of the barnacle world here, utilizing this space in the intertidal zone to the best of their abilities. These animals are trying to talk and say too many things all at once. I'm so excited about barnacles, y'all. So yeah, barnacles are a filter feeder, so they use their feet to scoop through the water to catch plankton with their toes of all things, and then they eat that food from between their toes to grow bigger and stronger and all those things. These mussels are also filter feeders. We've got some algae scrapers, all good stuff. Right here on this one rock. Let's get closer to the water and see if our tide is low enough to notice some other creatures. Of course, if you're tuning in today, I always love to know where you're watching from. So if you want to let me know where you're tuning in, if you've gone out to any beaches recently for any adventures, I'm going to plop my water quality kit down on this nice rock. We'll come back to that. Trade hands here. Again, sense of place. You can see the Les Davis Pier. I keep trying to remember I think they renamed this park Judge Jack Turner Park, so I keep kind of messing that up and just calling it Les Davis when it has a new name. So here we are. I like to do a quick check across the water to see if there's any marine mammals hanging out. This is typically a good spot to see things like sea lions or harbor seals. And of course, when the tide is low, check out what's on these rocks close to the water's edge. I'm gonna find one that's a nice hedge size. Maybe this one right here. And we'll go ahead and roll it and see if there's anybody underneath. I spy some crabs, and of course I picked a puddle. Here, let's do a spot that's less puddly so I don't have to deal with the glare. How about right here? I spy a cool snail. All right. So, taking a look here, we have something I don't think we've seen in a while on an adventure like this. This is the Frilled Dogwinkle. Next to a checkered periwinkle, which we'll talk about that really quick because it's not actually a snail today, even though it's the snail shell. We have a new inhabitant, a tiny little hermit crab. You can see its pinchers moving. It's trying to right itself. It's saying like, hey, I think I'm flipped over here. This is, one of the many good reasons to leave shells you find on the beach, because you never know if it's going to be the home of a hermit crab. So we'll let that little buddy go right back down and then come back to our frilled dogwinkles here, which really sounds like I'm making something up, but that is indeed their name. This one has kind of a different coloration than I normally see compared to the white. You'll notice that snail closed up its shell, so we're not seeing the little pinchers of a hermit crab, letting us know that this is indeed a live snail here. That little operculum or trapdoor is a plate that's made of the same material as your fingernails, and it helps protect the snail from predators, so it can kind of close up that soft butt into its twirly shell and stay safe if something was trying to eat it. Of course, a shell like this is a hot commodity for those hermit crabs. There's definitely a pretty big size gap between available shells. So thinking about this periwinkle shell compared to the frilled dogwinkle, there's really not a lot of shells in that middle size range. And so hermit crabs have that kind of tough transition between being a small hermit crab to being a big hermit crab in regards to shell availability. I'm also going to take a peek. Nice! You can see that foot for a little bit before it retracts into the shell. This, I think, does a little bit better job of giving us an idea why this snail is called a frilled dogwinkle. So right on those edges, you can see that diatoms, which are microscopic photosynthesizing organisms that kind of make things brown and scuzzy, which is kind of your typical lovely late winter, early spring kind of vibe on the beach. Is a lot of brown scuzz as things are getting lighter for longer. So I'm seeing that kind of defining those ridges on this shell, which indeed look kind of frilly, hence frilled dogwinkle. Pretty cool. Rad snail to find in the lower parts of the intertidal zone. So again, I'm going to kind of pop up and take a look. You can see the top of the beach where all those logs are. And then imagine walking down to, I don't know what, I should have looked at the tide chart before, but I'm going to guess we're about at the +5 tidal height right now. Thinking like if I were to stand up, that's about that many vertical feet, and then some to get to the top of the beach. Rachel's letting me know that I don't get good service when I'm in the rocks, so if you're wondering what the heck is Stina talking about, this video will be posted in full at the end of this live, so you can go back and catch up on some snail facts probably between then. Alright, so frilled dogwinkles, awesome. I'm gonna put this rock back how we found it. I'm actually gonna put our snail back over here too. And let's see if we can find some cool hermit crab, or no, not hermit crabs, just short crabs. Again, I'm looking for a nice head-sized rock because I know I can flip that over pretty easily and place it back easily as well. I don't want to disturb our intertidal friends too much. So let's do this rock. Indeed, it's Crab Central. Oh, and I was just talking to Nathalie today, and she was saying how she really wants to go to the beach and see some sea slugs. So I'm gonna dedicate these lovely barnacle eating nudibranchs to her. You can see, like, there's two here. So these glorious forbidden jelly beans are the barnacle eating nudibranch. They are, this is really kind of the biggest ones I think I've ever seen. Their little butt poof on the end is their respiratory organ. So when they're in the water, they use that to breathe. They of course have cool adaptations to survive for part of the day out of the water. Again, this is my clue that finding a soft-bodied creature like this lets me know we're at a significantly lower tide. I would not find these soft-bodied animals higher up on the beach because that would mean they're out of the water longer and they have, you know, this soft body which is less adapted to a long time out of the water. They can spend some time, but not forever. So living down here in the low intertidal zone is ideal for these little guys. They of course get their name, the barnacle eating sea slug, because they eat barnacles. I'm looking here on this rock and you can see there's a lot of empty shells. So when a barnacle is more like a volcano than a mountain, that's how you know it is no longer alive. Perhaps our little friends here have had, you know, breakfast, lunch, dinner, midnight snack, dessert, and so on. So, good job, friends. I'm also noticing that they are aligned in a way that I could suspect some romance is occurring. So we'll leave these two be for now and move on to some of the crabs that were under this rock. Let's take a little peek further under. Okay. This is a very cobbly beach, so it's hard for me to catch all our friends. This crab has seen better days. It's missing his pinchers! And I know it's a he because he has a skinny, pointy belly flap. Cool thing about crabs, they can regrow lost limbs as they molt. So if I can focus, you can see those little tiny nubs right there. That's going to be a new pincher someday soon when this crab molts its hard exoskeleton and grows a new, bigger shell. Hopefully, sorry about that. Service problems. We'll put these friends back. And I saw a purple shore crab crawl off in this direction. Let's see if I can find where it went. Awkward trying to roll rocks with one hand here. Oh, here's a bigger green shore crab. So these guys have those hairy legs, which you can kind of see. Oops. Pushing too many buttons. Oh, sorry I'm breaking up, folks. Again, this video will be posted in full. But look at the hairs on this crab leg. It's so cute. That's how I know it's the green shore crab or the hairy shore crab. We'll go find a different spot. See if we get better service a little further down. Thanks for hanging in there, folks who are watching. Ooh, always catches my eye when there's unexpected colors on the beach. This is some fantastic shimmery foil. We'll go ahead and pick that up. We're doing water quality, a beach walk, and a beach cleanup. Go team. All right, turns out I'm like, all the cool rocks are over where there's not great service. Let's see. I mean, there's probably still cool stuff out here in the sandy land. So we'll take a moment to see what's what. Maybe trying to decide which rock to flip. Like this one looks kind of promising. Let's see. Not that promising. What do we have? There are some things squiggling around. Looks like we have some amphipods, the tiny little beach hoppers. They're like the potato chip of the sea, which is why they like to hide out up here in the higher zone, as not to be somebody's snack. We'll put that rock back. Oh gosh, look at these big barnacles. Love them. Nice. See, this is indeed a live barnacle. Because it has the closed up shell. Let's zoom in so you can't see my finger as much. Haha! You can see all sorts of life is living on that barnacle, including other barnacles. There's a tiny little limpet there as well. Again, a lot of this filamentous red algae. Standing up. Okay. Again, so sorry about the quality of our connection. I will try zooming instead of squatting, but it's a little hard to do. The adventures of technology. I do want to point out there's another red algae. This is Mastocarpus here. It's kind of got this cool bumpy texture. So if you're ever out on the beach and find some red algae like this, feel it. It's got a stretch to it, and that lets me know it's a red algae, even though the color doesn't look that obviously red, but that little boing to it, which I accidentally pulled that off. Sorry, algae! But that rubbery texture lets me know and identify this as a red algae. It definitely has the feeling of like a Turkish towel. It's got those nice bumps to it. Could get some beach exfoliation. Ideally, don't pull things off the rocks. If it happens, it at least becomes food for somebody else to eat. And yeah, so with that, I think I just saw there's a bunch of volunteers out on the beaches today collecting water samples. Again, this is in partnership with the Blue Water Task Force South Sound Surf Rider crew. I'm gonna look at this big ripple here for a minute while we talk about all the amazing volunteers going out to 11 different sites in the South Sound to collect a sample. Again, this is a little snapshot during the winter months to see if there's Enterococcus in our places that we like to play. If swimming in poo is not for you, this is a fun resource you can use to take a look and see how those places are doing. There's a diving bird who also probably appreciates clean water. Some type of goldeneye. We're gonna let it pop up again and we can see if it has a little dot on its cheek or more of a comma. That will help us figure out if it's a dot common goldeneye or the Barrow's goldeneye. Kind of a cool seabird we only get to see in those winter months. But just because it's winter doesn't mean people aren't out here playing. And so the Blue Water Task Force is our way of helping out to see how these places are doing. And of course, our little friend, I didn't get a very good look at its face. So maybe we'll have to look at this video later to see what kind of seabird that is. But I'm gonna head back over to my testing kit because I need to grab my sample. Again, I'm seeing all our lovely volunteers are getting the texts in to say, hey, Liberty Pierce just dropped off her sample from Dash Point with the dream team of Hudson and Holly there. So we get to partner with the Science and Math Institute to analyze these samples. We get the results 24 hours later, and usually I post them by Friday. So there's a map that you can use to take a peek and see, how is our water quality doing? in the South Sound. So pretty cool resource. Oh, Julie is tuning in. She just dropped off Austin Estuary with Kendra and Kellen. So there will be some social media posts with more information about all the great sample results, because you want to know, right? Is the water quality clean and ready for you to play in? I sure appreciate that, especially at this site, because it's one of my favorite dive sites here in the South Sound. It's really easy to come to. And since I put my face in this water, I definitely appreciate this community science effort. So thank you for everyone for tuning in today. Again, check out those results on the Blue Water Task Force website. Look for the South Sound lab, and that will give you information about this beautiful place. And yeah, I think this is also my little reminder to say, hey, it's beautiful outside. If you haven't gone for a walk yet today or wondered about nature, go outside and take a peek around and do some noticing.